For many of you, this isn't the first tribal court conference, I'm sure. What I will say is that some things that really stuck out to me is that you have some pretty high authority people with the state saying things like state and tribal collaboration, restorative justice versus punitive justice. This is amazing. First time I presented 5 years ago, you couldn't really even say state and tribal court judges in the same sentence. Do you guys remember those days? Can I get a hey, hey? The door's really been opened up for some serious changes to happen. To have local involvement. Let me just take a step back. In my subregion, Yukon-Kaikuk subregion, the things that I was hearing when I went to Nulato and all the villages for the first time to conduct state court hearings is the same thing that I heard over in Amonic and St. Mary's. And way long ago, 5 years ago, it was that what the people, what the community, what the tribal members saw was that state troopers would come in, arrest their family members, arrest their people, and then bring them to Fairbanks or to the hub, incarcerate them. They never know, the village and the family didn't know what was going on. And then at some point, their family member would come back to the community, a hardened, changed, different individual. By a show of hands, does that sound kind of familiar to your life? So show of hands? All right. Well, now we have an opportunity to really push for change on the local ground, as stakeholders, as family members, as people that care about your communities, not some far-off city making decisions. You now have the ability to enter into these MOAs with the state of Alaska. The Attorney General talked about it. Our Chief Justice talked about it. The state of Alaska officials are ready to work with the tribes. And that is huge. Because through collaboration, that is the only way that we're going to succeed, giving our villages the healthy family members, the healthy kids, the healthy lifestyles that we want. I've worked with a lot of great people over the last 5 years, networked and met a lot of you, and a lot of same opinions. At the village level, people have to have a say in what's going on with their justice needs. And in the village, we're all connected. We're either family, blood related, or adopted family like my family is now, down in the Yukon-Kaikuk. But we all depend on each other. This punitive system of arresting people and sending them to jail and feel like that's going to change everything and make it better, that doesn't work in the village. Only restorative justice works in the village, because at some point, we want our families back. We want our families back, and we want them to have a game plan that they've changed their behavior, changed the domestic violence, changed the substance abuse. The only way that's going to happen is if we help them do that. By a show of hands, how many of you as tribal court judges know your local magistrate judge that serves your subregion? By a show of hands, by first name basis. Come on now, don't be shy. We can work on that. Look around, please. By a show of hands, yeah. So collaboration, this is where we're moving to, okay? What I urge you to do, and I'm going to urge my colleagues as magistrates to reach out. Let's talk, let's communicate. In my subregion, I just have such a great close relationship, not just with my tribal court judges, but their aunties, uncles, they're my friends. They're the people who picked me and my family up when we arrive in either the boat in the summer or the snow machine in the wintertime, and that's who puts us up, and so it's, as a state magistrate who has to be fair, impartial, and detached from the bench, it's kind of hard sometimes, because I care about everybody in all 7 communities that I serve, and I know everybody now. And so sometimes it can be a bit challenging. I have preempted myself from cases where I felt like I'm too close, but it's important as judges to always stay fair and impartial and detached from cases. And I'm sure the same goes for tribal court judges. But what I'm trying to say is that I relate to what tribal court judges and the tough jobs that you have because you are family related to a lot of the cases that you see. I wanted to just tell a brief story, not a story, but just kind of an event. And I just want to know if court looks like this currently for any of you. But the district attorney, the public defender, the magistrate, judge, clerk, law enforcement, counselors, all arrive to your village in a boat. You're there to pick them up in the four-wheeler, throw the stuff and the gear in the back of the truck. You head out to the community hall, to the tribal hall. Community and elders start filling in, start eating food, meeting and greeting. By a show of hands, is this how your court is done? If not, it can be. You meet with the tribal court judges, just meeting up with old, friends and kind of family members, You set up state court right there. You explain the charges, everything that's going on. You take a recess. You let the community facilitate a circle. You talk about the harm that's done. Victims, offenders, everybody's involved. Aunties, uncles, everybody wears different hats. The way I look at the circle sentencing is that the magic really happens outside of the on-record state court hearing. Because people that have offended, not just the victim, but the community and family members in the village themselves, the community finds a way to bring them back into good standing and gives them a roadmap to be successful so they're not just in and out of jail, can't go work on the slope, can't hold down a job, can't have, guns because they can't do subsistence. We have to make changes. And that starts with us at the local level, working with state and tribal officials, federal officials from the cities. But getting community input, what I've seen, and me caring so much about the communities that I serve as a magistrate judge, I couldn't do what I do without tribal court judges and getting recommendations from the community to kind of share the load, really, to see what's going to work best for our communities there for things. And there's statutes, there's criminal rules of procedure that I always have to follow. Sometimes there's mandatory minimums and sentencing and things, and I explain all that. But the really meaningful stuff happens in that circle. People are a little apprehensive if you've never done it before. You don't know what that looks like. But each village circle is specific to that community, what they want it. They make their own rules with what the circle is going to be. But it's what you get out of it. Maybe it's round 1, maybe it's round 15 of the circle, where you're talking about the harm. You're laying out all the hard issues. And you're learning from trusted people that care about you and respect you and have walked those shoes in your life and have made mistakes and get to tell you personal stories of how they triumphed and overcame them. And when you hear that, not from me, but from your own family, and then have the support to help you make changes and have people that, feel like your life isn't hopeless. You don't have to commit suicide. That's not the way out. The way out is through your family, your community, your tribe. We need to remember that and work towards that. And that can happen with the tribal court judges and the state court magistrate judges and judges and attorneys, working together. I'm really heartened that, within the last 5 years, it's such dramatic, great change. Five more years from now, I can't even imagine what you're going to be doing boots to the ground out in your villages. You have so much good work that's coming up, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to do with this, and make your communities healthier and safer. The point of my last court trip was that it would not have been possible. Everybody knows that the state is dealing with a budget crisis. We do not have the money. It costs a lot of money, and I'm very appreciative of my presiding judge, of my area court administrator, of my chief justice, to allow me to travel to the villages the way I have. It costs a lot of money, and to the DAs and to the PDs to send out their attorneys. Their caseloads are immense. It's very expensive, takes a lot of time to do. 1 or 2 circle sentencings, 15 status hearings. But what else we get besides out of these trips is huge, and it has changed things. You know, under 20 trips has changed Criminal Rule 11. That's our state sentencing structure. It's changed the whole way of thinking of things because it's bringing us together. You know, and we're rethinking justice in Alaska, in Bush, Alaska, and rural Alaska. And changes are happening right now, and it's very exciting. Our DA was, really wanted to travel, didn't have the money. It was the end of the fiscal year, and reached out for funding, and Lisa Yeager graciously answered the call, and I was so impressed that for a tribal Tanana Chiefs Conference and a tribal entity to pay for a state prosecuting authority to travel to the village to conduct a state court hearing in the village, if that's not collaboration and trust and respect, I don't know what is. We got a lot of work to do. Times are changing, you know. Let's work together. Let's get it done. We know what we got to do. Okay? Thank you, guys.